All right. Hopefully this is working. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I have been having some audio issues. Can you hear me? That's my first question. Can you hear me? And I shall wait for confirmation that I can actually be heard, that I'm not talking to myself. You can. Awesome. Sweet. I don't know what happened. We had a new floor installed down here, and I had to disconnect my computer and everything. And so right now, when I was getting stuff set up, my headphones don't work. Like, my headphones don't work. I don't know why. Something got disconnected or something. So I can see the audio levels in OBS and everything looks like it's working, but I couldn't actually do like an audio check. So I was like, this may or may not work. So I'm gonna ping everybody on Discord with this, and then we're gonna get going. All right. Video link. Got it. Go to Discord. Where am I going? Videos and streams. There we go. There we go. Put the link in there. There we go. Whee! All right. We've pinged everybody. All right. Let's see who's in the house today. Killer Kitty's here. Hello, Killer Kitty. Nihilus, hello. Mikey Rambo, what's up, dude? You made it on time? Yeah, I didn't make it on time. I totally did not make it on time. Bree Reynolds, what's up, dude? You can hear me all the way from NZ. Must be New Zealand. Sweet. That's good. Is it just me, or was the sound cutting out intermittently for a minute there? Seems better now. I don't know. I can't hear myself. But I have tons of echo in this room I'm in. They took the carpet out, so we have... Hold on. Check this out. We have floor. We have hardwood floor. Well, it's not hardwood. It's that premium vinyl plank stuff or whatever. I don't know. It looks like wood. It's not, because you don't put hardwood in basement. That would be that's a bad idea. But anyway, my room now has no carpet, which means that everything echoes. Like, there's crazy echo in here. So I have those. I have to put up the acoustic panels, little octagons on my walls and stuff, so that I don't have crazy echo. Because I can hear it, man. It's very much echoey now, Greg. Absolutely 100%. Yeah, the luxury vinyl plank. Yes, that's what I have. South Germany, what's up, Primus? How you doing, man? Yeah, we need all the cats. If we get all the cats in the room, they'll absorb the sound. Yes, that might work. My dog's in the room. Where's the dog? The room? That's the room. There we go. The dog's here. But she's not really absorbing the sound. She's just, I mean, probably absorbing a little bit of it, but not a whole lot. So, it's what it is. You... Yo, my PC is totally fighting the echo. It's horrible. I gotta get the panels up. I gotta put the panels up probably tomorrow. I have to film videos tomorrow, so I have to put my panels up before I film videos. So those will be up tomorrow, 100%. Keith, yes, I'm alive. Very much alive. All right, let's get rocking and rolling then. Whee! Oh, Squirty Pies is here. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the live stream. Tonight we're gonna hang out, talk about D&D, Pathfinder, and other gaming stuff and whatnot. We'll basically just be doing a Q&A hangout. You guys ask questions and I will answer them. That's how we'll do this. So we're joined here by my co-game master, I've never seen a co-game master in action, really. But she's gonna be helping me today do the live stream, I guess. Yay. All right, cool. So doing Q&A. We have a giveaway going on. There is a link down in the chat. Hopefully one of our mods. We have Goliath Cleric. I think I saw Freight Train also here. So we got a giveaway going on. You can get store credit. He's rubbing against my camera. Store credit on the dmlair.com. We have a whole bunch of cool resources over there for 5th edition and for Pathfinder. Adventures, traps, puzzles, and cool stuff you can use in your games. So over on the dmlair.com. So the giveaway, we'll be giving away store credit, so you can grab some cool stuff over there. And we will draw the winner to our giveaway at the end of the stream. This is what my cat does. You like pet her and she complains. That's what she does. How you know she likes it? She's complaining or something. I don't know. She's crazy. So I got the giveaway going on. What else do we got? Oh yeah, let's do our patron plugs, the thank yous and things. Woo! All right. Let's see where we at. Here we go. There we go. All right, so you see a bunch of names on screen. These are our wonderful patrons. They help support the content that we create. They also get an issue of Lair magazine every month. That's our premium publication. That has adventures and digital maps and traps, puzzles, monsters, encounters. I mean, it's got pretty much everything in it that a game master kind of needs to use in their game. So if you are busy and don't have time to create your own stuff, then Lair magazine is there to help you out. And then we have these patrons here. This cat's really distracting me. I should just put her on the ground, but she likes to be up here. All right, these folks here, these patrons, support us at a higher level, so they get their names read out loud in the stream. Aaron H, Agile M, Alex S, Alexander O, Alithana, Alan D, Amanda W, Ambers, Angelique K, Anton K, Art Soccer, Ashley, Lucas, Beavis Khan, Bees in Space, Black Wolf, Bradley H, Brandon P, Brian D, Brian O, Brian the Lion, Brian J, Carl C, Chaotic Wolf, Christine B, Christopher G, Clay W, Colette H, Colin W, Connor D, Contrary Gravy, Corey A, Courtney H, Kuyang B, Dara T, Dazzled Up, David S, Dawolf, Dalen, Dean B, Derek E, Dice Goblin Wannabe, Don D, Draxus, Dungeon of Terra, Ed R, Edward B, Edward L, and Frabo, and Dorian72, Eric B, Philip? Ugh. Gabriel, Gene A, Gene W, George E, Greg, George R, Greg P, Guapo, GVTM, Heart U, HLD, Important, Iron Cascade, Jackie Pizza, Jacob K, James L, Jeremy W, Jarig, Jim P, Joanne P, Joel J, John A, John A, John B, John D, John the Wicked, John Pinkanos, Jonathan F, Jonathan S, Jonathan V, Jordan, Jordan A, Jose B, Joseph H, Joseph W, Josh M, Josh S, Juan, Killsaber K, Kirby, Laura L, Laser, Letter Mage, Lionheart, Linda, Loki, Lord H, Lieberclaw, Matlock, Macy S, Mama D, Marcel V, Marcus K, Martin E, Master New, Matthew C, Meepy, Michael S, Michelangelo, Mirastal, Mitchell, Mo20s, Mordakin, Morve, Nicholas S, Nick H, Neerith, Nostromo, Old Man Mage, Oleg, Paul S, Pathnick, Pivo, Porkchop Bacon, Puppet Master, Randall C, Randy B, Rebar, Renner C, Richard M, Robert C, Robin B, Roll for Combat, Robel, Ross A, Ryan, Sale R, Sakura, Samantha J, Sarah P, Scott R, Shadow, Shane L, Sean the Ice I, okay, Simfan, Soul Naya, Stefan G, Stephen T, Steve S, Sturb, Tabletop Nerd, Talina, Terry V, the O, the Diabolical DM, the Jackal, the Fuzzle, Nubet Ombre, Thomas F, TK, Tom B, Tom T, Travels T, Trinity S, T Warner, Tyler D, Tyler All, Valagor, Victoria Q, Vladimir S, Volhoff, Wesley K, William C, XX Redrum, Zombie Trami. Woo! I gotta go through and like clean that list up a little bit. So what I do for those read-offs is I export the list of patrons to an Excel spreadsheet, and then I use some formulas to like get their like names to where they're like not have that it doesn't have like their last name, it just has like the first initial of their last name. So I got to do some formulas and stuff, and then I convert that into a Word doc, and there's a bunch of formulas and stuff that go into making that name list for me to read, and my formulas broke a couple of the names, it looks like, is what happened. So I probably should go back in and clean that up, but we'll see. Yeah, that was a warm-up exercise. Oh yes, that's what we do. Okay, cool. So we're just doing Q&A. So you guys ask questions and stuff. What's your favorite enemy and or combat that you've run lately? I'm not good at favorite questions. Like if you ask me what my favorite X is, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm really bad at those questions because I just have no idea. Like you ask me what your favorite X is and I will draw a blank every single time. And I'll just be like, I don't know. I have no idea what my favorite thing is, dude. So yeah, I punt those questions. I don't do favorite questions. I don't know. They don't work for me. I have no idea what to say. Luke's favorite is definitely not the combat I ran last session. What did you do? You killed somebody. I know somebody died. And didn't somebody come close to dying? What were we fighting? We were getting our butts kicked. It was a Pathfinder 2 game. Zach is running Abomination Vaults for us, and we were getting our butt kicked. What were we fighting, dude? Morlocks. Okay. They're like they're like a subterranean type creature or something. Yeah, we were getting handed, man. That was crazy. Have you had success using hostile rival adventuring parties in the past? I really haven't had too much of an opportunity to do that sort of thing. Not in the true sense of like setting up a rival, right? Where you have so you have your character's adventuring party, and then you have a rival that is competing for some of the same missions or quests, or they're trying to accomplish the same objectives and stuff like that, and they might interfere or they might beat them to the punch and that sort of thing. I haven't really implemented anything like that, to be perfectly honest with you. The closest I've done is I have done mirrors where you'll have like your standard adventuring party of their 5 characters, and then I've created combat essentially that is mirrors of them. So you have a paladin, you have like a paladin type, you have a wizard who casts polymorph into a T-Rex. Well, there's a wizard in this one that casts polymorph into a T-Rex. So I have done that before, but that's the closest I've done. And that combat was, I don't think I liked it that much. The problem for that combat was that I was running 5 different stat blocks to try to emulate my 5 different players' characters, and that's really challenging to do, you know. And then, so I don't know. It was cool as an experiment, but I don't know that it was like the best combat in the world. It was just kind of like, we're gonna try this. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. How do you keep up motivation when you're just not feeling it? I don't know. I just do it. There are a lot of things I have to do that I'm not motivated to do, and so I just put one foot in front of the other and I do it. So if we're talking about game mastering, how do I keep up motivation when I'm just not feeling it? I don't know. Usually the thing that makes me get into the mood and feel it is like designing adventures and prepping for my games. So usually for me, getting in the groove and feeling it is literally a matter of starting. Like there are many times that I don't feel like prepping for a game, but once I start doing it, then I start to get into the mood and I start to feel motivated to do it. Now that's true for game mastering, which is I guess what we're really talking about here. It's not true for everything in life. There are definitely some things that I'm not motivated to do ever, but I have to do it anyway. But for game mastering, usually once I start doing it. Also, I have found that taking breaks helps too. Like if I'm not motivated, taking a break helps. Just cancel a game session, or two, take a month off or something. That has helped me before. And then I take a break from it. I'm able to relax a little bit, breathe, and not just go from one task to the next task, because sometimes it depends on how busy you are in your real life and what you do and stuff. But sometimes being a game master can start to feel like a job, like work, you know, constant work. And when it starts to feel that way, and you're like, oh man, I gotta go work on my adventure, and I don't really want to do it because I never get a chance to take a break. If it starts to feel like work, right, then that's probably a good sign that you need to take a break or something, I think. And so I've had success with that, just taking a break, recovering, relaxing, doing something else. It's not prepping for a game or something like that, and that will make me feel better usually. I'll take a week off and I'll come back and I'll be good to go, generally speaking. I also know that sometimes running too many games is a problem too, because when I'm running too many games, then every single one starts to feel like a chore, right? Like, if I have, for instance, we used to, like, we literally just stopped doing games for, I used to do this thing for my patrons where once a month I would run a game, and then we just pick some random patrons to be in the game. And I was running that game, right? And then I have 2 other standard ongoing games that I run. And then I do games as part of Kickstarters too. It's like the top tier. Playing a game with me with your friends. And I was just getting burned out with all the games I was running. It was crazy. It was like 2 or 3 games a week. And I'm like, I can't do this, man. It was just, you know, so the Kickstarter games aren't all the time, so that fortunately is abated until the next Kickstarter, which is in April. And then we discontinued the monthly patron games. So now I just have 2 games that I am a game master for. I have my Pathfinder 2 game, and then I have my Ancient Dragon game, which is for patrons. But it's different. It's an ongoing campaign. So I have those 2 games that I'm a game master for, and so that feels a lot more manageable. So I basically have a game every weekend. That's very manageable. One for Pathfinder 2, one for 5th edition. That feels very manageable. And then I am a player in a Pathfinder 2 game. That doesn't take a whole lot of effort. And Zach Goliath Cleric is the game master for that one. And usually what I'll do is like, and I was doing this in our last game, but I'll use the Pathfinder 2 game. Like, it doesn't take like, I can do some other activity while I'm in the game and still be paying attention. So like 2 things I like to do when I'm in a Pathfinder 2 game, you know, online, is I'll either paint minis or glue minis together. I remember once, a while ago, I was gluing minis together in our Pathfinder 2 game, and I got my fingers stuck together. That was great. They were totally super glued together. It took me like, I want to say an hour to get them unglued. And I had like the nail polish remover, and I was just slowly like trying to work my fingers apart, but I literally glued them together during our game. That was awesome. So I'll paint minis during our games. And then I also like, I'll clean my firearms too, because that's one of the things. It's like they get dirty and they got to be cleaned, but I'm busy, right? And so sitting down at a game, it's like, oh, I can just sit here and clean stuff and play the game at the same time. So that's a relaxing experience, and I get caught up on some stuff I want to do too. Yes. Okay. Very good. Fred says he has 5 Kickstarters that are all coming very soon. Dude, like, I was looking at a Kickstarter today. No, what was I doing? I was I was looking at a Kickstarter update or something, and what happened is that the Kickstarter was being fulfilled soon, but it was a Kickstarter from like 3 years ago. Like the Kickstarter happened 3 years ago, and they're just now fulfilling the thing. You know, and I was listening to that update, and I was like, wow, is that normal? Like, is that normal, you guys? To do a Kickstarter and have it take like 3 years to get it? And this was a book. This was like a 5th edition book or something. I can't remember. It was an RP. It was a tabletop role playing book. But it was like, is that normal to take 3 years to get Kickstarter books? We usually get ours like in a year. Usually it's like a year tops, and we get our books to people. So Goliath Cleric says Luke cleans his gun most of the time. I mean, they're dirty. They gotta get cleaned. You know, it's a perfect time. Like, it's very hard for me to not do anything else during a game that's online. You know, like, and so if I'm cleaning a gun or I'm painting minis, I can easily pay attention to what's going on in the game. And when it's my turn to do something, you know, do it. Yeah. So just now fulfilling from 3 years ago, MCDM. Oh, I don't know. I don't pay attention to their Kickstarters. I don't know how long they take to fulfill stuff. If you're starting from total scratch, I could see a year and a half, maybe 2 years, not 3. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if you're starting from total scratch and you haven't done anything. But that's not the paradigm for most Kickstarters. Like, generally speaking, these days when you do a Kickstarter, you have a good start on the content. You're not just like, I have done nothing. You have like a good portion of it done. You know, that's generally how it works. Yeah, I was reading, what was it? This was like a couple weeks ago or something. I pledged to a Kickstarter, and I got an update for it, and essentially we may never get those books. We may never get the books. But I was like, oh my gosh, really? They didn't say that, but I can read between the lines, right? Like, I know. And then I'm like, oh man, that stinks. And then for some reason, I was reading through the comments on the Kickstarter, and the other people were talking about other projects this person had made that hadn't been fulfilled yet. And so I started digging into this rabbit hole of like looking through all their different projects that they had done. And I think they had about 5 or 6 or some of them that had not been fulfilled. So they had like, between Kickstarter and Backer Kit, they had like 6 projects, I think, that were unfulfilled or something like that. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm never getting my book. I'm never gonna get, nobody's getting anything at this point. It's not happening. Wow. So anyway, when my team and I do Kickstarters, we like to give you your stuff. All right, let's see if we got some more questions here. What are your opinions on X thing that I have no idea what you're talking about? I don't know what that is, so I don't have any opinions on that. For me to keep things interesting so DM doesn't get boring, I have another DM actually play the NPCs, but that's because I have a group of 10 people and like 7 of them are DMs. Jeez, 10 people, that's nuts, dude. I was in a group once that had 10 people. Oh man, it was crazy. Like, the thing that happens is that there's so many people, it would take like, I don't know, an hour to make a decision about what to do. It was nuts, like the decision making process, right? And then I don't know. The interesting thing is there wasn't any combat. Like, did we have any combat? I don't even know if there was any combat. I think we might have had a couple fights, but they didn't last very long for reasons I'm not going to go into. But if combat were a normal thing, combat would have taken a long time too. But the gameplay was very slow. That's what happens with large games, right? So like if I were to run a big, well, if I had a game with 10 people in it, first thing that I would probably do. Okay, I was gonna say I would never have a game with 10 people because I wouldn't allow that many people in there. But let's assume that for some reason I did have a game with 10 people. Well, you know, there's always split the game into two and then run two different games. Here's what I would do. If for some reason I had a game with 10 people, I would probably... Players leave after, players leave. It's a thing. If you have a gaming group, the only way to usually keep it going is like when a player leaves, you find a new player, and so you keep players in your game. Otherwise, they're just gonna slowly trickle out. It just happens. It's life, generally speaking. You have some players who will stay forever, but most of the time you're gonna have turnover. So if I had a gaming group with 10 people, I just wouldn't replace them. As people left, I would just not replace them until I got down to 5, and then that's a good number. And then at that point, I would replace them. But it's hard, right? To keep the game moving, to keep things flowing when you have a lot of people. That's really, really challenging. Totally challenging. And I can see why. And then if you got that many people, then yeah, a co-DM or something like that might help to do some of those things, especially if they're prepping, especially if they're helping you prep things, right? Like if you tell them, hey, you're in charge of prepping this, and this for the game or something. There could be some benefit for that. But does a larger group require more prep? I don't know if it requires more prep though. Yeah, I don't know. Rachel says my players love me. Thank you very much. They never leave. Yeah. Okay. I mean that's fair. It's fair. Have you heard of the New Beginnings of D&D book? 1970 to 1979. What do you think of it? I never heard of that before. No, I'm sorry. I just got done reading through Into the Fae. Any tips to sell the party to play it? So the way to sell it is to talk about the things that excite you about it. That's what you want to talk about. What are the things that excite you about the module, right? And that's how you're gonna probably make your best sales pitch, right? Do you like the monsters? Do you like how the adventures are set up? Do you like the Fae aspect to it? Do you like that not everything necessarily needs to get resolved by combat, even though it probably will? Do you like the setting of Airedale? Like, do you like how the adventures are? Like, how the adventures are set up? Like, do you like the NPCs? Like, I feel like you should find the things that excite you about the module, and then use that to sell your players and say, look at you guys, these things right here make me want to run this module for you because I really think this is cool. And then because generally what happens is your players will sense your enthusiasm for those reasons, and if there are things that you actually like, you're probably going to be able to speak to them and sell those points more efficiently or effectively, because those are the things that excite you about the module. So that's what I would do. What excites you? Why do you want to run it? And then explain that to your players and communicate that to them. And if that's what I do for any module that I want to run, like if I wanted to run, what was it? I was running Dungeons of the Mad Mage for a little bit. I didn't run through the whole thing, but like there were parts about that excited me to run it. And when I was pitching it to the group, that's what I hit on, the things that excited me about it and why I wanted to do it. you know? That's how I would do that. I had some questions from earlier that I skipped over. Let me see if I can find some of them. Oh, I had a super chat. Oh man, I had super. I should probably pay attention to my super chats. All right, so Josh Scorcher, thank you for super chat, dude. How do you feel about creatures with different phases and abilities depending on how much health they have? Yeah, that's cool. I think it's good. It's a good way to do it. One of the reasons that it's a good way to do that is that if a creature is always static and it's the same, then the players and even the game master, the combat settles into a rhythm. Everybody kind of knows what to expect. They know that the dragon breathes breath fire every 3 rounds or so, and then tail attack and bite and claw. They know what he does, and oh, he's gonna cast a spell, except he got counter spells. That doesn't work. So if they know and they expect what the dragon's gonna do, it can get boring to a certain extent, right? But if there's a certain trigger, now the trigger could be the dragon's health, it could be something else, it doesn't matter what the trigger is, but if there's a trigger that causes the monster to start doing something different, behaving in a different way, maybe the number of his attacks increased, etc., 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 then that suddenly takes a dynamic or a static creature and turns it into a dynamic creature, which can be more exciting for the gameplay. And the players will be like, okay, they settle into a rhythm, and then all of a sudden, oh no, it changed, right? The dragon is now doing this thing that he wasn't doing before, and that can make it more interesting. And it changes the puzzle of the combat, because combats are puzzles in a way, right? You're trying to figure out the solution. How do we overcome these monsters that are trying to kill us? And the way the puzzle pieces are the tactics you use and how you respond to certain things and what you do, where you position yourself in the battlefield, what spells you cast, what abilities you use. Like those are like how you solve that puzzle. And so when you think you've solved the puzzle and you're settling into a rhythm, but then it changes and there's something else going on, then you have to reconsider, how are you gonna do this? What are you gonna do? And so I think that monsters that change and are dynamic are good in that respect. They're also a good way to handle encounters that get away from you. So if you have an encounter that you come in too hot on and it's too challenging, or you have an encounter that isn't challenging enough and you wanted it to be more, but it isn't because 5th edition is just not a very challenging system, generally speaking, then if you suddenly, at a certain trigger, maybe a health threshold or something, or maybe say round 3, the monster can get twice as many attacks, or there's some special ability he unlocks, and you can just make this up on the fly. You don't even have to plan it that way. Just give your monster a special ability, you know? Suddenly, all of a sudden, he has a special ability that replicates the blight spell, and then that's going off. So you can just do that on the fly as well, to make your combats more interesting. How do you stop all your cats from knocking your minis off the tables when they're drying? Oh, when they're drying? Well, I don't leave my minis on the table to dry. I have a shoebox, and minis when they're drying. Well, I mean, a lot of times they're drying while I'm painting other minis too, but at the end of a painting session, I'll put all my minis into a shoebox and then let them dry there. And yeah, there's not a lot of air circulation in a shoebox, so that's probably not like the best solution to it, but I don't know, it's worked for years. And so I think I probably still have the same exact shoebox as well to let my minis dry in. I turn my fan off. It's getting cold. Okay. Another super chat. Thank you, Seth, for the super chat. I want to run my players through a maze, but the original idea is circular. How should I run this for them? Theater of the mind, map, or change layout? How do you run a maze in D&D? How do you run a maze in D&D? And make it interesting and make it fun, right? So my first impulse, if I wanted to run a maze for my players, would be to do a skill challenge to get by the maze. That would be my first impulse, because I don't know how well it would work if I just had a maze. Well, you can't obviously, if I just had a maze that they were going to run through, it's theater of the mind, because if you're using like a map or something, I don't know, and they're just gonna like, they would have to map it out, so they're telling you what direction they go, that they're gonna turn, and then one of the players is mapping it as they go, you know, and then they're like having to backtrack and stuff like that. I mean, the implementation of it seems simple enough, but I just don't know how fun that would be. I've never done that before. I've had mazes before, but I've never actually made them like go through the maze. Like, okay, we're gonna walk through the maze and we're gonna tell you, we go straight. Okay, left or right? Left. Okay, you walk for a while. Okay, now there's like a T intersection. Go right. Right? Well, actually, the correct answer is always go left. That's the proper way to go through a maze. You always go left. You know, and then if you go to a dead end, you back up and go left again. You always go left. That's the way to get through the maze. But I've never actually had them work through a maze before, so I don't know how fun or unfun that would be. So somebody probably has tried that before, but I would do a skill challenge because I just don't. And how long will it take you to go through the maze? Like, and is that so? If it, I don't know, there's always the point to be made of like, well, you can always try something once and see if you like it, because you never know. But if it takes us an hour to run through a maze, my thought is like, is there something more fun we could be doing instead of just, you know, I go straight, I go left, and then somebody's mapping? You know, like, is that a good use of our game time? That's the question that comes to my mind. But again, you can always try it once and see what happens. And I would, okay, so, and you're asking how you should run it. Theater of the mind. I would definitely do a theater of the mind and then have somebody have to map it, because the moment you have like, you're drawing out the map on a grid or something, they have the advantage of that DM drawn top-down view, and I don't think I would do that. I think I would do a theater of the mind and have them map it themselves. And then the crazy thing is that the smallest mistake in mapping it is gonna cause big problems. Yeah, I would do a theater of the mind though. Thank you, Anthony, for the super chat. Have you let your cats DM yet? No, my cats are not capable of DMing. They would just cause trouble. Well, yeah, of course there's stuff in the maze, and you're gonna find stuff in the maze. So yeah, I get that, but you're still just, I don't know. I just don't know if that's gonna be. I don't know if that's gonna be enjoyable or not. You'd have to try it. And if the only interesting part about the maze is the stuff you find in the maze, it begs the question: why are we running? Why does it have to be a maze? Because if you just run through a normal castle or a dungeon or sewers or something, like, is the castle the interesting part? Nah, it's the stuff in the castle. Is it the sewers that are interesting? It's the stuff in the sewers. And it's the same thing for a maze, right? But with the maze, you have the added complexity of trying to find your way, which may or may not be enjoyable. I don't know. I don't know. Many don't find mazes fun. It's a crapshoot. Yeah. The only way you're going to know if you and your players like it is to try it. Would Bard plus Blood Hunter be a good multi-class? I don't know what Blood Hunter is.
I don't know, where did Blood Hunter come from? I might not even own the book. I stopped buying D&D books about a year ago. So would you recommend a layout change to a vaguely confusing dungeon instead? I don't know. I still feel like you don't know if you and your players are going to like it until you try it. So, I mean, if you feel inspired to try running a maze and you think it might be fun, then you can try it. You could start with, I mean, a maze has to be a certain size for it to be a challenge. So I was going to say make a small maze, but you need to make a maze of a large enough size that it's actually a challenge to find your way through it. But perhaps not so large that it takes forever. But I still feel like even though I have my doubts about whether it would be fun or not, like everybody enjoys different things. Like there are some people that literally when they play D&D, they just sit around and talk in character, and there's no combat and there's no exploration at all. They just sit around and talk in character. Now to me, I would drop that game immediately, right? But some people love that. So there's no accounting for like people's tastes and what they like and don't like, right? And so it's possible that your group would like a maze and that you would enjoy it. You might not know until you try it, right? And then you'll know. Oh, so it sounds like Blood Hunter is a critical role class and it may not be well balanced. Okay, yeah. A lot of third-party stuff is hit or miss, especially player options. Player options are difficult to balance because especially for player options tend to have much more long-lasting effects on gameplay. Like if I make a monster that's not well balanced, the monster's going to be dead in a few rounds. Probably not that big of an impact, right? If I have an encounter that's not well balanced, meh, you know. However, player options, like if I make a class that's not well balanced, well, that player is going to be that class for quite some time. That will have a much bigger impact on gameplay. Same for subclasses, races, ancestries, things like that. So those are definitely trickier to get well balanced for sure. The Lugwig, thank you for the super chat, dude. I appreciate that. DMing for the first time Sunday, and this channel has been very helpful and given me confidence. They're first time players too, so we're all learning. Cool, awesome, man. I'm glad to be able to help. And that's the cool thing too. Like it's your first time, but it's their first time too. So they have nothing to compare it by. Like they may have watched online games or they may have watched shows like Critical Role, but like they've never been in a game before, so they have no comparison. So chances are they're probably just gonna have tons of fun. Carbonic Tonic, thank you for the super chat. Allo. I was wondering if you had tried to convert something from 5th edition to Pathfinder 2. I have a module left over from when I played 5e, but no way. But now I play Pathfinder 2. Yeah, so my team and I convert things from 5th edition to Pathfinder 2. We publish Lair magazine every month, and we've been publishing Pathfinder 2 content for it since the summer. So yes, we do convert things from 5th edition to Pathfinder 2. Zach does some of it. We have a new person. He's got lots of experience doing it, but William Fisher is his name. And he has lots of experience converting and working in Pathfinder 2, and so he's doing some of our stuff now. So we do that. And you're asking me, you have a module that you want to convert from 5th edition to Pathfinder 2. And what's the question? If you've tried to convert stuff. Yes, we have actually converted stuff. Yeah. I don't know what you're asking though. Are you asking how easy or hard it is? It's not easy all the time. I will tell you though that, well, yeah, it's not easy, dude. It's not easy because from a gameplay perspective, like if you're just a player playing the game, there are differences between 5th edition and Pathfinder 2, but the differences are not that pronounced. But from a game design perspective, there are some pretty big differences to take into consideration. Like, you couldn't just be like, okay, 5th edition game, the 5th edition adventure has 3 goblins in it. Okay, cool, let's just grab goblins from Pathfinder 2. It might not work because the foundation of 5th edition, one of them is bounded accuracy. Pathfinder 2 does not use bounded accuracy. Everything just continues scaling. So that has pretty widespread implications for a lot of things. 5th edition, if you just look at magic items, for instance, how they do their magic item system and Pathfinder 2's magic item system, very different, very different. Many Pathfinder 2 magic items, at the ones you would get at lower levels, have like tiny bonuses to things, and many times they are very niche. They don't apply to a wide variety of things. It's like, if this thing is happening while this is happening, you get this bonus to this specific thing. 5th edition magic items are like usually much broader in their applicability to situations and things in the gameplay in general. And so when you start to delve into a lot of these mechanics, there's some pretty big differences. And my point is that makes converting content from 5th edition to Pathfinder 2 more complex than you might believe if you had just played the game, right? And you're like, oh, this is kind of the same game. It is reactions instead of like a bonus action and a move and an action and stuff. So there's a definitely level of complexity to doing the conversion. Thank you, JC. That's awesome. JC says Luke was great for getting me off the ground to DM for the first time. Cool. Thanks. I appreciate that. Cat strike? Oh, you want to do a cat strike? Well, we do have we do have a couple cats. We could do a cat strike. I'll do a cat strike. All right, here we go. We actually have a lot of cats down here right now. Let's go to the room cam. My cats have been moving my camera. They have totally moved my camera. Well, relax. You guys moved my camera. Wow. All right. Yes, I know. Orange. Orange. What's going on, buddy? Squirty. What? Orange. Go get some food, Squirts. Go get some food. Quit touching my camera. All right. We have 5 cats down here. 2 of them are not on camera. Orange is watching. Orange. Come on, Orange. Orange. Look at Orange is, look at, you can see him like right there. He's just watching. He doesn't want to come over here. There we go. Blue Brush says, Luke was one of the people who got me into D&D in the first place. His videos kept showing up in my recommendations and I kept watching. Now I'm here. He's like, this guy's videos keep showing up in my feed. I had a video once, you guys. This was like a year ago maybe, but there was a video being recommended. It was always in the top of my like recommended videos, and it had to do with a topic. I don't even know what the topic was. I don't remember what it was, but it's the type of video that I just don't watch. I never watch that sort of thing. but for some reason it was showing up in my recommended like forever, for like a month. It was just there. I'm like, what is going on? And so finally I clicked this stupid thing because I was like, okay, look it. You want me to watch this stupid thing? If I watch it, if I click the stupid video, it will go away. And so I clicked it and I wasn't really watching it. I kind of just went down to the comments and started reading the comments. And everybody was down there complaining about how that video had been showing up on their feed too. And they finally were like, I'm gonna give in and watch this stupid thing. So something was going on with that video where it just was getting pushed in everybody's recommended to. I don't know. So weird stuff like that happens sometimes. Any advice on running vampires in a campaign? Yeah, well, I ran Curse of Strahd, and vampires seemed very underwhelming. It's like, I don't know, they didn't do enough damage. I had to have a lot of them to challenge the players. And if the players have any source of sunlight, like if they're at a level where they can cast daylight, if a cleric has the daylight spell, like it's game over. So they're very niche, and they have certain weaknesses that if they can be exploited, make them pretty worthless as an enemy. So definitely want to make sure they can't be, there's no sunlight nearby. I would probably give them some cool minions and stuff that they could use along with them as well. I don't know. I didn't find vampires, thematically vampires are really cool, but the stat blocks are just kind of lackluster and weren't that exciting when I was running them. So I don't know. I would probably, if I were to do it again and I had time, I would probably try to rework the stat blocks to make them more interesting so they could do cooler stuff. Or maybe be more of a threat, besides just having to throw large numbers of them at characters. Alright, and the cats have lost interest. Now they've just left a whole bunch of food on my floor. The dog needs to wake up. If that dog woke up, she could go over there and eat it. Bluebrush says, I like running high-level boss encounters in my games. Any tips on how to make them challenging, fun, and chaotic? So I have 2 videos on my channel called it's something about how to run awesome boss fights. There's a part 1 and there's a part 2. But if you type in DM Lair boss fight, you will find those videos. And I go over lots of different things in there about how to run boss fights. One of the things for a boss fight is minions. You gotta have minions. You can't just have a solo boss fight. That almost never works very well. And the minions need to be high enough of a challenge that they're meaningful too. I'm not talking about like 1 hit point minions that just die. Because action economy, right? Use terrain. You want to have some sort of terrain in there. It's going to make the combat more interesting. The lair action a lot of times will kind of serve like a terrain, or usually, a lot of times lair actions have some sort of terrain effect to them. Gosh, boss fights. So one thing that I've noticed happens with boss fights is they can drag on for a long time. And the reason that one of the reasons in general that fights can take so long is that enemies have lots of hit points. And so it just takes longer to beat them down. So one thing you can do to not have boss fights take so stinking long is to reduce their hit points and increase their damage. And what that's going to do is it obviously makes the boss die faster. But while he's alive, he's doing a ton of damage. And that will freak your players out. Like, there's nothing like when you have 40 hit points and you get hit once and it does 30 damage. Like you were at full health and all of a sudden you're almost dead. That will freak you out and make you like, oh my gosh, this is serious. Holy crap, this is serious. And then when the second attack misses, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't take another one of those. Like those types of fights are some of the awesomest fights. So that's something you can do to boss fights to make them more tense as well. So there's a few different things for you. Any advice for handling a one-shot? We plan for a couple hours, but it turns into a mini campaign. I don't know what exactly you're doing to have it turn into a mini campaign, but I can tell you that if you're running a one-shot, the trick to a one-shot is to have a definitive ending. So I'm going to talk in the context of a location-based adventure. This is an adventure. You can do this for node adventures, for event-based adventures. Like you can do this for any type of adventure, but because ultimately a location-based adventure is just nodes connected, the nodes are the rooms and they're connected by hallways, So this will work for kind of anything. But the trick is you want to have a definite ending in mind, something that will end it. Because I don't know how a one-shot turns into a mini campaign unless there's no ending. Like, they're just like, oh, let's go do this. Okay, you did it. Let's go do this. Okay, you did it. Well, let's go do this. Okay, you did it. You have to have a definite ending. And so let's pretend that there is an evil princess in the dungeon. Well, your goal is to defeat the evil princess and rescue the dragon. That's your goal. Cool. That's our goal in the dungeon. Once you've accomplished that goal, the one shot's done, ladies and gentlemen. And the way to make that one shot take up like 4 hours is you budget your time. So when I run one shots, one of the things I almost always do is I have a boss fight. This is like the finale, and then there's a beginning, and the beginning will put you in the middle of action. You start in the middle of action. Never start a one shot in town. That's the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing you can do. If you start your one shot in town, you're immediately going to have a shopping session. Immediately. The players are going to be like, they're going to learn what the problem is, and they're going to be like, oh man, we didn't know we were going to do that, so we should probably go stock up on some supplies, right? And then the cleric is like, I should prepare some different spells. And the wizard is like, that's a good idea too. I should do the same. Maybe we should go see if we can find some spell scrolls that will help us. If you start in town, you immediately have a shopping session, and there you can kiss 1 to 2 hours goodbye. Potentially, depending on your group. I don't know. So never start in town. Never start in town. You want to start your one shot exactly where the adventure takes place. Like, you're in the dungeon, you're outside the castle gates, you're in the sewers, right? You start where the adventure takes place. You don't start with an NPC quest giver. They're not talking to the quest giver. Like, if you have them start, I'm just telling you all the ways to cut time out of a one shot so that a one shot can be done in a 4-hour window. If they start talking to the NPC quest giver, well, there's an hour. There's an hour that they're going to talk to the quest giver, and get more information, and then have a discussion, and then be like, oh, wait, what about this? Go talk to the quest giver. Have a discussion about what they're going to do. Oh, what about this? Go talk to the quest giver. Like, so you don't want them to interact with the quest giver. You want, again, start in the adventure location in the middle of the action. So King George has been taken hostage by the Black Hand Ghouls. You are King George's elite strike force. You know that he was taken hostage in the Shallow Kelp Tavern. You guys are about 100 yards upstream in a rowboat, and you can see the Shallow Kelp Tavern. Your objective is to rescue King George and as many noblemen as possible. That's your objective. You're 100 yards away from the tavern. What do? That's how you start a one-shot. In the middle of the action, you've told them what's going on, what their objective is, what they have to do, and they're right there. And now they can start playing the game. They're not going shopping. They're not talking to a quest giver. They literally are starting to play the game in that moment. And they're in the middle of action, right? And then there's like, let's pretend that in this adventure, there is a bad guy who's guarding King George. Well, that's our boss fight. That's our finale. So we want to get them there, right? We want to get them there. Now, in a normal campaign, I wouldn't do this, but in a one-shot, I do. So if there are three levels to Shallow Kelp Tavern, and if King George is in the basement, but the players decide to go to the second floor, and they spend 2 hours going through the second floor, figuring things out, talking to people, maybe they have a fight up there. If they spend 2 hours up there, are they really gonna have time to go down into the basement and find where King George is and also have the boss fight? And the boss fight could take a half an hour to an hour, who knows, right? It depends on what level you're playing too, because the higher your level, the longer combat takes. Oh my gosh. So what you want to do is, like, you want to get them to that finale. You want to get them to King George. And so you need to cut out scenes. You need to cut things out. Like if there's a room that had a bunch of ghouls in it, but you don't have enough time for another combat, well, the room's empty, right? And then if they're still up there for a long period of time, well, maybe the next door they open has King George in it. And now King George is on the second floor instead of the basement, because you're keeping an eye on your one-shot window. You have 4 hours, and you might have to move things around so that the players will find the thing so they can get to the finale. They can get to that ending boss fight and do the thing, right? Again, I don't do that for normal adventures. For normal adventures, if it takes them 3 game sessions to go through the tavern, I don't care. That's what we're there for. We're there for however long it takes. As long as we're having fun and it's interesting, that's how long it's going to take. But if I'm trying to do a one-shot in a 4-hour window, I can't just be like, whatever. Like, I have to time management and make sure they're getting to the thing. And so maybe they find King George, and then the person guarding him is right there. And so that's another thing that you do for a one-shot to keep it within your 4-hour window. And this is something that if you're running a game at a convention, you especially have to do, because you have 4 hours, a lot of times less because whatever. So you have 4 hours, and if you don't finish your game in 4 hours, do you know what's going to happen? At least half of your players are literally going to stand up and start walking away, and they're going to say, I'm sorry, I have to go. I need to get some food. I have another game that starts in a half an hour. I can't stay any longer. They're literally going to get up and walk away. So you have to finish it in 4 hours. You have to. And that's the essence of how you do it. Start in the middle of action and then cut scenes out as needed to save time. And then also, if needed, move stuff around so that they're not bumbling around unable to find the thing, So that's how you do that. And you got to have a definite ending too. It's not supposed to just be, oh, we saved King George. Oh, cool. Let's go see if he has any more quests for us to do. No. It's not a campaign. It's a one-shot. It's over. So. Yes. So there's also the idea too of if you can build in a mechanic that keeps the party moving, and there is a reason for them not to dilly-dally and for them to get on with it, that is going to help your one shot as well. For instance, in this scenario with King George, King George was being held captive in the Shallow Kelp Tavern, and the Black Hand Ghoul army was going to arrive very soon. Like, there were already Black Hand Ghouls there, but it was like an advanced strike force, right? The rest of the army is on its way. It's on its way. And so once the rest of the army arrives, it's game over. Like it's unbeatable. So you have to rescue King George before the army gets there. And conveniently, the army is going to arrive in 4 hours. Not in world time, our real world time. So like our game is starting at 6 p.m. and it's a 4-hour one shot. We're going to end at 10 p.m. Guess what? At 10 p.m. is when the Black Hand Ghoul army arrives. That's it. So you're baking this bad boy in. Now, you don't want them to fail. If they never find King George and the army arrives, that's unsatisfying, right? And so you're still going to move stuff around and do what you got to do so they can hopefully have a chance at achieving their objective. So there's some game master finesse stuff going on there, you know, but if you can have a timer element that keeps the party moving so that they're not dilly-dallying, that is also going to help as well. Any advice on improvisation? My kids do the craziest things I had no plans of doing. I end up improvising the whole game. Yeah. What are my tips on improvising? You get better. You get better at it. The more you improvise, you get better at it. I think it becomes more natural. One thing you can try to do, I don't know if it'll work though, it really just depends, is if you have pre-made elements in advance that are slightly generic such that with a little bit of tweaking, they could work for one of your improvisation moments. Let's pretend that your kids are like, okay, look it, we want to go see if there are any outlaws. And you're like, yeah, there's a few outlaws. There's wanted posters. There's this person, this person, and this person. Okay, cool. Let's go after that person right there. Okay, yeah, you can go after that person. And you have a handful of very small dungeons that you have already built out. And you're like, okay, cool. They want to go after this outlaw. Cool, that's going to be this dungeon right here. And that person or monster or creature, let's say it's a bugbear, that bugbear is the outlaw that they have to find. Cool. There you go. They get to do the thing they wanted to do, bugbear. You had some game element prepared in advance that you just tweak a little bit on the fly, and then you just drag it and drop it, and boom, you have your little adventure that they can run. And you're not improvising nearly as much, right? Because you have a little game element prepared in advance that you can just drag and drop as you need to. Now, I don't know how well that would work in all situations, but you could try doing something like that if you have groups that just completely go off and do stuff that you have no way of knowing that they're going to do that. Speaking of one-shots, I'll be running one soon. We all want it to be extra long, but can a 7-hour one-shot be fun? What's the maximum time limit before attention starts wearing off? It depends on your group. Like, I used to run games that lasted 12, is it 12 hours? No, 8 hours. 8 hours, yeah. We routinely ran 8-hour games. We would start playing at 4 p.m. and we would end at midnight. That's 8 hours. We would play for 8 hours straight. And I'm gonna tell you what, I loved that crap. I had a blast. And most of the players were having fun too, because we were just so excited. Now, after a while of playing for that long, the excitement started to wane a little bit. And we were all kind of like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't play for 8 hours. Maybe we should like cut it down a little bit. And so now we play from 4 till 9, which is 5 hours, right? Is that 5 hours? 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Is that 5 hours? Probably not. 9 minus 4. Yeah, that's 5 hours. Yeah, that's 5 hours. I'm good. Yeah. So, if you guys are all jazzed up and excited, I don't think there's any reason you couldn't have a longer one shot. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And remember, one of the core principles of one shots is being able to cut content out and move things around to fit a time limit. So if you guys plan for a long one shot and you can see after the 5 hour mark or the whatever hour mark, people are like, wrap it up, make it finish sooner, just cut stuff, move stuff, make it be done. Like, you can totally do that. So you could plan for it to be longer and then make it shorter if you need to. Keith, thank you for the super chat. I am looking to return to running some 5e games after a long hiatus. Which one shot would you recommend from the DM Lair store? So I would grab like, you want a one shot? Just grab a low, well, it depends on what level group you guys are. But if you're gonna start DMing after a hiatus, I would probably start around level 3. Level 3 is going to be more forgiving than starting at level 1, because level 1 characters are really squishy and they're all going to die, and you're going to be like, I didn't mean to kill you, what's going on? Ah! So if you start at level 3, so I would grab like a level 3 adventure. Let's see what we have out there that's like a level 3 adventure that you could pick up. And I'm recommend an adventure arc for you, because that way, if you guys all have lots of fun, you could turn it into 3 adventures instead of just 1. But you could just keep it at 1 if you wanted to. So where's my premium content planning sheet? And then a level 3 adventure arc. What do we have? We should have one of these things. Level 2. Oh, here we go. Okay, so if you go to October 2022, Heroes and Horror. So Lair Magazine, October 2022, Heroes and Horror. That has a level 3, 4, and 5 adventure arc in it that you probably would find fun. Or there is, if you go to July 2023, Mirth and Muck. That issue of Lair Magazine also has a level 3, 4, and 5 adventure arc in it. That's July 2023, Mirth and Muck. So I would take a look at either of those, and then you're going to get some really good adventures in there that you can run as a one-shot, or you could also run it longer as an adventure arc if you want to. That gives you a little bit of flexibility in case you guys are all having fun and you're like, oh, let's keep going. And our Lair Magazine issues all have other resources and like puzzles, traps, and things like that as well. So, and monsters. So there's more resources in there that you can use as well. The narrator, thank you for the super chat. Not a question, I'm just bummed I can't seem to get my players to appreciate the OSR like I do. Ran Shadow Dark, they spent the whole campaign complaining. What were they complaining about? I wonder. Yeah, I don't think I have a solution for you necessarily. I might have played. I mean, I know I've played old school D&D, like first edition stuff, but I don't think I've played anything specifically OSR. No problem, Keith. Happy to help, man. What would you say is the best way to make a newbie feel comfortable in combat? I don't want to nudge them into character classes so they are playing a druid in Pathfinder 2. So when I have new players, I do a couple things. The first thing is that, and I don't do this with experienced players, but with a new player, I might make suggestions. I might say, hey, I noticed that you keep on attacking 3 times. So in Pathfinder 2, because of the multiple attack penalty, attacking 3 times usually isn't worth it. Usually you attack twice, and then you want to use your third action for something else. And here's some options. Obviously, you can move. You might try to coerce or intimidate or something. So I would give them some options, and then kind of help them along that way. The other thing that you can do, my coffee is done warming up, or my tea water is done warming up. The other thing that you can do is you can simply just tell them that they should just, instead of worrying too much about the rules, have them just verbally state to you what they want to do. So I want to run over there and like try to trip him on the ground and then like stab him. Can I do that? Yeah, move over there and then the trip action. Okay, cool. And then you attack him. Yeah, right? So let them know that they don't have to worry too much about the rules. Just they can tell you what they would like to try to do, and then you will apply the rules for them and tell them if it's possible or not, and then if it is, what rules are and what dice they have to roll. And so that way, by giving suggestions, you're helping them learn the things they could do, and by allowing them to just state things in plain English, you're taking some of the pressure off of not knowing all the different rules and what's possible and stuff. So those are a couple different ways you can make them feel more comfortable. I'm DMing a game with a story-heavy group. I don't know what that means. And I have one player who's new. They avoid story and try to play like a video game. How can I get them into the story when they've been avoiding it? I don't know. Like, I don't like broccoli. It literally gives me a stomach ache. I don't like broccoli. I won't eat it. There's nothing you can do that's going to make me like broccoli. You can't. Okay? You can't. There are certain books I don't like. I won't read these books. There's nothing you can do to make me like these books. There's there are certain places that I've traveled to before that I will never travel to again. There's nothing you can do to make me like this thing. There's nothing you can do. Now, if I have to do it for whatever reason, okay, but you can't make me like a thing that I don't like. Maybe you can, but it's not always going to be super easy. It might be nearly impossible. And then you have to ask yourself, is it worth the effort of trying to make a person like a thing that they don't inherently like? And especially in the context of a game, what is the point of my trying to make a player like something that they just don't like? And why would I do that? Like, if there are different elements in the game and they like some of them, but they don't like others, like, do I want to try to force them or somehow convince them or something to like a thing? Now, you might try that, but is it worth your trying to do that? Or are you better off just allowing them to engage with and enjoy the parts of the game that they actually like and being okay with that? I don't know what you mean by it's a story heavy group. I don't know exactly what that means. But whatever that does mean, you have a lot of players that like story elements or something, and they engage with that. Again, I'm not really sure what that means. And you have one player who doesn't. I would say that if I were a game mastering that group, as long as that one player wasn't interfering with what everybody else likes doing, and as long as they're just chilling and being patient while other people are engaging with the game that they like, and then when they're, and then they can engage with the game and enjoy the things that they like, as long as everybody's kind of happy and they're not impeding each other's enjoyment of the game, I think you're okay. Right? Now, if that player is doing things by playing it like a video game, and I'm not sure exactly what that means either, but if they're doing things that by playing it like a video game that impedes the other people's enjoyment of the game, well, then that's a problem, and that's a discussion to be had, right? But as long as they can coexist, I don't think there's anything to really worry about, and I'm not sure that there's a problem that needs to be fixed. Like, I wouldn't, like, if I have a player that doesn't like combat, I'm not going to go out of my way to try to convince them to like combat. I'm just going to accept they don't like combat, but they like exploration and they like social interactions. Cool. You know, I have other players who don't like exploration, but they like combat, and so cool. And that's why I have a variety of stuff in the game, so that it appeals to different people. Oh yeah, we have a giveaway going on, guys. We have a giveaway going on. You can win DM Lair store credit, where you can get a whole bunch of cool stuff to use in your game. We have 5th edition, we have D&D 5th edition stuff, we have Pathfinder 2 stuff, adventures, maps, puzzles, traps, bunches of cool stuff that you can put in your games. And then we'll draw the winner in about 5 minutes or so, not too long, and we'll be drawing the winners of that. Any thoughts on how Adventures League will handle the new rule set coming in September? The idea of the new classes being backwards compatible is so confusing to me. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, that's gotta be a mess. I cannot imagine a world in which the thing is that the new content that comes out, the classes are going to be more powerful than the existing ones. Do have no doubt. Do not doubt it. Do not doubt it. The classes that come out in September 2024 edition of 5th edition, which is just 6th edition, those classes are going to be more powerful than what we currently have. There can be no doubt. They want to sell books, and the single best way to get people to buy games like D&D books and stuff like that, if for players at least, is to make the thing more powerful. So people are going to buy it. So that means that the stuff that's already out is not gonna be nearly as good as the new stuff, right? So how does Adventures League handle that? It seems to me like, okay, if I were a business person who wanted to make money, I would want to encourage people to buy my new products as much as possible and not to use the old product that they already have. I want them to buy the new thing because I want to make money. So if I were to simply make it so that in Adventures League you can't use the 2014 rules, and that you had to use the 2024 rules, do you see how stupid this is? Do you see why this is stupid? Just call it 6th edition or something. You know what I mean? Like, you have to use Player's Handbook 2024. You can't use Player's Handbook 2014. It's so stupid. Just call it 5th edition and 6th edition and be done with it, you know? People already know what it is. It's not like you're fooling anybody. So anyway, you're just giving yourself a tongue twister is what you're doing. What was I saying? Okay, so anyway, if you just outlaw the existing 5th edition and tell Adventures League people that you have to use 6th edition, well, then you sell books, I suppose. I don't know that. I'm not saying they're going to do that. But it would probably sell more books and make it less confusing or messed up, or I don't know. Anyway, those are some off the what do you call that? Off the handle thoughts, I guess. The wizard is getting stripped naked? What does that mean? What are they doing to the wizard? Trintus says, late arriving here in the UK, and I'm just now hearing Luke cleans firearms during games. I did never think I'd have that scenario in my brain to connection to the TTRPGs. Yeah, it's just something I do. I don't do it in in-person games. I would not do it in an in-person game, but when I'm playing online, yeah. Like, I got chores to do, and I can keep my weapons clean. I'm gonna do it during a game. I'm still able to listen and participate, you know. I want crits to be stronger in 5th edition. So lately I've been running them by giving the player who crits an extra action that turn. But that doesn't work well for us. Any suggestions? I think if I wanted to beef up crits, I would probably do the same thing that Pathfinder 2 does, where if you crit, a crit is rolling 10 or more than the attack armor class. So if the armor class is 12 and you roll a 22, that's a critical hit. You don't have to have a nat 20. You just have to have your total result is 10 more than their base number. And so that will result in more critical hits right off the bat, almost assuredly. Now you do have bounded accuracy in 5th edition, so it's not gonna work perfectly fine. You could do something like that. An extra action, critting on an extra action, or getting an extra action when you crit, that I can see how that could present some problems. You could have crit tables, you know, special things that happen when you crit, but that's gonna add bog to the game. It's gonna take longer to roll on those tables and figure out things that happen, you know. So if you're going to have crit tables, you want to make them streamlined and easy. Like I was playing Hackmaster with my gaming group, and they have like these tables for everything, right? And it's cool to do that like for a one shot, but if we were constantly having to go to tables and looking through pages to find tables for like a lot of different things, I could see how that could get old after a while. So, but I think maybe you have crit tables, but you just make them streamlined so that they're pretty easy, you know. Yeah, I thought Hackmaster was fun. I enjoyed playing it. I didn't understand all the rules and stuff, really. The game master was handling most of that stuff. What would you say to a stubborn 5th edition player to convince them to try Pathfinder 2? I'm the game master. I'm running Pathfinder 2. If you want to play, you're welcome to play. Otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. I don't think that would convince them. I think that's like the ultimatum. That may or may not work for you. I didn't do that. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming you've already. I mean, what else are you gonna do besides explain why you like Pathfinder 2, and in the ways that it's superior to 5th edition, and how it fixes a lot of these problems in 5th edition, and how gameplay is smoother and more fun and more interesting, and how it's easier for the game master to do all of these different things. I mean, you know, but at some point, maybe run a one shot for them and just be like, we're gonna play for 4 hours, dude. That's it. But the problem is that that's not gonna make them like it, because you like, I don't know. Everybody's experience will be different, but the first months or so that I was running Pathfinder 2, I didn't find it to be more enjoyable than 5th edition. But that was because I was still learning all the rules. It wasn't familiar to me, and there was an element of frustration there. But now that I am familiar with the system and I know the rules a lot better, and a lot of that frustration is gone, now Pathfinder 2 is way more fun for me than 5th edition D&D. Way more fun. Because I've gotten past that hump of learning things and some of the frustration of not knowing how things work and having to look it up and stuff, you know. And now I'm more comfortable, and so now I can appreciate the game system more. And so if you're trying to convince somebody to your player is probably going to play it once and then they might not like it because it's new stuff and they're not familiar with it and stuff. So I don't even know if that's the solution, you know. I don't think I have an answer for you. I really like the Cloak of Displacement. I hate the Cloak of Displacement. Is there a way that I could introduce it in my campaign without completely unbalancing it? No, Cloak of Displacement is completely is a broken magic item in my opinion. If you take the Cloak of Displacement and put it on a high armor class character, they're unhittable. They're practically unhittable. You put it on a paladin with if a paladin already has an armor class of like 20, and then they have a Cloak of Displacement on it, they're unhittable. Like the way disadvantage works in 5th edition is that at the extremes, it makes things almost impossible. If you have what I mean at the extremes. So if you have high armor class and then you have disadvantage to hit the high armor class, you're screwed. You're probably not going to hit them. Disadvantage. I don't like disadvantage as a game mechanic because it's so swingy at the extremes. It makes things simpler, yes, it simplifies things. But if you have disadvantage on an attack and the person has an armor class of 20 or 22, you're not hitting them unless you have a really good attack modifier, because chances are one of your stupid dice is going to roll low. And so Cloak of Displacement is a very unbalanced magic item. Even at higher level, it doesn't matter what level you're at, it is super powerful. And so my current house rule with Cloak of Displacement is I think you have to use an action to reactivate it. Like I don't know, it's a heavy-handed nerf, but that magic item, no way. What is your favorite aspect of Pathfinder 2 over 5th edition? The combats are way more interesting and fun. Combats don't take as long. They're a lot more smooth. You can have single monster combats that are actually challenging and difficult. As a game master, I can balance my encounters very easily and very quickly, and it's pretty reliable. There's some caveats to that I've learned, but generally speaking, the math works really well for creating my encounters. I don't have to worry about the adventuring day. You guys, do you know how awesome it is to not have to worry about depleting characters' resources? Oh my word. It was like, it is a burden off my shoulders as a game master. Because in 5th edition, if the characters are at full resources and they go to the boss fight, they're gonna mop it up. You have to deplete their resources over the course of the adventure. You losing spell slots and hit points and expending different things. And then when they get to the boss fight, it might be challenging. In Pathfinder 2, I don't gotta worry about that crap. If I want the boss fight to be hard, I just make it severe. Or, heaven forbid, extreme. And that's it. That's all I gotta worry about. They can, if I make a fight severe and they have full resources, it's gonna still be really hard. I can bank on that. I don't gotta worry about it. And so I can design my adventures however I want, with as few encounters or as many encounters as I want. It doesn't really matter. Now there are some caveats to that I've learned. And they might have to retreat and rest and do stuff depending on how I set things up. But so I'm speaking in very broad terms, right? And I understand that it gets more complicated than that, but it gives me so much more freedom as a game master to design things, and not have to worry about so many little things like depleting resources and an adventuring day and stuff like that. So it's just cool. I like the monsters. I like how the monsters are way more interesting. Most monsters have special abilities that are just really cool and stuff. The artwork is better. Oh my gosh. Like, the artwork, Paizo's artwork is top notch. Highly rendered, beautiful, the thematic, the style of it. You know, so you open these books up and you're looking through the artwork and it's inspiring. Like there's action taking place. It's like, oh, it's just really cool. So I don't know. There are lots of things. I love the 3 action economy system. It makes that's part of what makes combat go faster when you just have 3 actions, as opposed to like move, action, and bonus action. Like half the time in 5th edition, it's like, okay, I took my action. Is there a bonus action I can use? Hold on a second. Let me see if there's a bonus action on my character sheet somewhere, or if I have a spell. And then it's like movement. Are you gonna move or are you not gonna move? Should I move? Because I don't want to waste my move. I don't want to not move if I should move, because then I'd be wasting something. And so it's like, I don't know if I want to move or not. I don't know. There's like a clunkiness to the different types of actions. And when you just have 3 actions, period, it smooths things out. So I don't know. I don't know. There's a bunch of things that I prefer about Pathfinder 2 over 5th edition. Oh, did I mention too that Pathfinder 2 rule sets are 100% free online? You can go to Archives of Nethys and get all of the Pathfinder 2 rules right there. You can search for things, it pops up. If you, for instance, if a creature has the grab ability and you're like, how does grab work? Oh my gosh, you can quick search and it pops up. And it's free. It's not behind a paywall. They're not trying to get $10 a month from you. You know, the rules are there for you to use. You know, I still buy the books because I like physical books. And they they have PDFs too. You can get the PDFs. That's convenient. Yeah. So there's lots of things that I like about Pathfinder 2. I could keep going. Okay. Let's do the giveaway, ladies and gentlemen. Let us draw the winner to the giveaway. Where is this? Winners. Oh, I love Vancian spellcasting too in Pathfinder 2. Yeah, I love Vancian spellcasting. Ugh, it's cool. It's cool. A lot of players don't like that because it has limits and restrictions on it, but I like that. All right, here we go. Drawing the winner. All right. Steve from Lindenhurst. Steve from Lindenhurst, you have won the giveaway. I will be sending you an email and we'll get you hooked up with some cool stuff, man. So congratulations, Steve. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're done. I think that's it. We're gonna call it a night. I'm gonna go to bed. So thanks for hanging out. Next time I should have some sound acoustic panels up on my walls so it won't be nearly as echoey. So that'll be nice because I can hear myself echoing. And my cat agrees. It's very echoey. So, all right, guys. I gotta find the buttons and I'm leaving. Whee!